A pleasure to meet y'all at last, and welcome back to Nerf Secrets Revealed Aftersought. Now for today's selection of Nerf blasters to choose from and to give out a great review. Now comes the ultimate new generation Maverick, the Elite XD Disruptor. And now, of course, aside from the fact that it happens to work very similar in ways to how the Maverick works, let's also say Slamfire is a pretty big innovation when it comes to the usage of a handgun-based blaster like this. Though, I should admit, this is not the only example of a pistol-esque blaster that happens to utilize Slamfire in it, because this blaster does itself have single fire and Slamfire. But of course, I guess there's quite a few things I might as well disclose about this blaster in general. The paint job is pretty darn good for what it is. It's basically the strong arm given a great upgrade to it. It's got not as much plastic on it, so of course, in terms of, well, twirling capabilities, I could do this for hours. I mean, this thing is almost perfect when it comes to twirling. It's a wonder why this blaster could be seen twirling around on my finger in the Nerf Secret Revealed Season 8 intro screen. And if you're not familiar with it, then well, roll tape. Now, there you go. That pretty much goes to show that the Disruptor itself, out of all pistol-related blasters that I could possibly own in the Nerf lineup of toy blasters itself, this one is practically in a perfect spot when it comes to balance and stability, especially if you're planning on twirling this thing anytime soon. And it's fitting that you could probably twirl this in your hands because it definitely gives you a nice Wild West sort of vibe to it. And I mean a really nice Wild West vibe, because after all, this is in fact the 6-shooter of the generation that we're in right now. But of course, its older brethren, which includes that of the Elite XD Icequake, or the Elite Strongarm, or the N-Strike Maverick, or many, many other different iterations that have also appeared in different lineups, the Disruptor itself has a pretty nice way of going deep within its own type. Being that it has 6 cylinders, a nice revolving barrel itself, and just like with the Alpha Hawk, I should say, this blaster also has itself a trigger release based cylinder rotation process in and of itself. However, the likes of this compared to the Alpha Hawk, this actually is a lot smoother than I probably would have anticipated, because after all, not every occasion can you probably be able to handle dozens of different trigger return cylinder rotations in a single sitting. But as you could probably tell, I'm actually pretty excited about this part. I could probably just do this all day. Just like with the twirling, the trigger rotation is kind of one thing out there that I could probably also classify as a pro about this. But, of course, there also has to be cons at some point, right? I guess a few cons that I can identify here as well. It does have one tactical rail, which, it's okay. I mean, there probably could have been one that's on the bottom. I mean, if they added more blue plastic onto this and probably surrounded the cylinder from the bottom down to the top, then it probably could have had itself a second tactical rail. And usually I like to go highly tactical on some of my own blasters itself, especially with the usage of attachments like barrels, stocks, sights, dart storage, and many other things around here and there can also be utilized at the same time. But the Disruptor is only utilizing one stock part of itself, and the Maverick actually had a tactical rail right onto the handle, which was pretty strange. I mean, who would have thought that you could just simply go like this with an attachment on the top of the handle? Of course, that idea was pretty much taken out by the time the Strong Arm came into the marketplace, because instead of that, they just went ahead and put a tactical rail on the top, right in front of the handle, where it probably should be, but I could probably only imagine just how people would be able to use a Disruptor or Strong Arm or any kind of blaster like this with this kind of pullback action to it, instead of just this, like we're accustomed to. So that's probably another con I could probably say about the Mavericks, I guess, family, the Maverick family itself. I don't really know what to call it, but anyways. Sling attachment points would probably be another thing I should probably disclose here, because that is ridiculous. I mean, who would hang their blaster like this? I usually like to hang my blasters like this, pretty much, or at an angle where it could pretty much be shown on without colliding into other blasters based on the wall. And if you haven't already seen pictures of the Nerf wall, then, well, let's bring on the pictures, shall we? Now, in general, the Disruptor is a pretty darn good blaster for what it is. A solid 8.5 out of 10 for me. But I will say for sure that it has some doubts, but it has a lot of triumph within its own lineup itself. And because the Elite and the Elite XD lineup eventually has actually transformed into the Elite 2.0 lineup, or the Super lineup if you will, then that probably could gauge the fact that maybe we might as well get ourselves a new form of the Disruptor itself. After all, we have gotten tons of new reskins on a lot of blasters lately, so it is only a matter of time before another Maverick family member joins in the craze to the Super lineup itself. But of course, aside from all that, there are plenty of other blasters of that type there, just waiting to be talked about. And I will talk a little bit more about those, but I guess it's time for me to do a little sneak peek here. You ready? Spoiler alert. These are also pistol-esque blasters to them. Twinsies!